Hello again. My name is Cassie Clayton, and today I will be talking about our last async, which was to attend a board meeting. The board meeting that I was able to attend was the one on June 4th in Durham. This was the last one for the year. The first thing I noticed was that it was really tough to understand if you weren't familiar with a board meeting before. It was very hard to follow for a newcomer, at least in my opinion. It was also, no offense, but not very exciting and very lengthy. The meeting started off with some housekeeping items and then got into presentations, which there were quite a lot of. There were a range of people who spoke, from superintendents to principals to teachers, presidents, etc. One presentation that particularly stood out to me was the heads up one. It was a really sad story that a trustee of the board, Linda Lowery, talked about. Her son had a catastrophic brain injury and was in the ICU for 48 days. And the goal of Heads Up Durham is to save other families from going through this devastating tragedy that she and her family experienced. A lot of the information that was shared during the meeting was a wrap-up of the year. Although that's interesting to see, it would have been nice to see a board meeting at a different time of the year to see how they typically run. I guess I could have potentially gone to one in May. However, that's a lot to ask of a student who's trying to survive 5 new online courses. I thought it was interesting that there were student trustees who attended the meeting. We have talked about this before in previous classes, but I was fascinated by this. At the end, there were some committee reports, and the presentations mentioned people who received awards and recognition. To be honest, I would be lying if I told you I knew what a trustee was prior to this assignment. I have a much better understanding of what they are now. Trustees are locally elected representatives of the public, and they are their community's advocate for public education. They are responsible for recognizing the needs and priorities of their communities and bring them up in board meetings and ensure that those needs are considered when it comes time for making decisions. It has come to my attention that being a trustee isn't necessarily an easy job. They are in charge of mediating among conflicting interests and values. A person is qualified to be elected as a school board trustee if the person is qualified to vote in a school board election and is a resident of the school board district. This candidate must be a resident within the jurisdiction of the school board, be a supporter of the board, be a Canadian citizen who is at least 18 years of age, someone who is not legally prohibited from voting, and someone who is not disqualified by any legislation from holding school board office. The term of office that these trustees have is 4 years, and the Education Act states that all meetings of the board shall be open to the public, so virtually anyone can go to these meetings. Trustees have background knowledge on governance policies, board's bylaws, and teachers' code of ethics. With that being said, and everything else that I've said about trustees thus far, it is safe to say that they play an integral role to the function of a school board district. They are essentially necessary to support their public and the community. Overall, attending a board meeting and learning all about it was definitely interesting, even though it was pretty lengthy, as I mentioned before. I, however, would be interested in going to one that falls sometime during the year or even at the beginning of the school year to see how things get rolling. Thank you for the opportunity to learn more about this, and have a great summer.